Hey friends, David Walls here, Executive Director of the Family Foundation. I'm here outside of your Kentucky Capitol on a chilly but beautiful day. Just wanted to update you on an important few issues. As folks know, we are in the final days before the veto override period, which actually starts on this Friday. So this is an important deadline to get important bills across the finish line, so that if the governor chooses to veto the bills, the legislature would still have the opportunity at the end of the month to come and override those vetoes, similar to what happened on the Save Women's Sports bill this last session. But just to update folks, first on House Bill 470, this is Representative Decker's very important bill that would protect minor children in Kentucky from harmful gender interventions, whether that be hormone experimentation or mutilation and surgeries and just other very concerning things that are happening to our kids. That bill had already passed the House, has been over in the Senate, and here's the update. This morning, the Senate Family Committee heard House Bill 470. They have passed it out of committee. They have actually added into the bill now some important parental rights protections, some of which come from Senator Wise's SB 150, along with some additional important protections in the education context that came from some of the important House parental rights bills, including House Bill 177 that we've been advocating for and working on throughout this session. So some really important stuff in that bill. There was a very just a great hearing. Representative Decker did a phenomenal job once again on the Senate side in the testimony that she brought, just making the case crystal clear why we have a moral obligation to ensure that these harmful procedures that are happening on children here in Kentucky are not allowed to go forward, and we protect our kids from these harmful interventions. So again, that bill passed out of committee, but it was a pretty close vote. And so what's left is that bill needs to pass the full Kentucky Senate on the floor. But we're hearing there might be some efforts to weaken the bill. And as we sit here right now, it's a very strong bill. It is in alignment with the protections that have been passed to protect kids in several other states that have already passed these Help Not Harm or Do No Harm acts that we're talking about here. So it is vitally important that the Kentucky Senate move forward with the strong language that's in the bill that has all the protections that are needed to protect our kids, as well as I mentioned, some of the important parental rights protections that are now in the bill as well. So encourage folks, this is a vitally important time to be reaching out to the Senate to encourage them to support House Bill 470 and get that bill across the finish line. A couple other important updates. As folks know, the effort to expand predatory gambling via sports betting, that bill passed the House last week, and we're waiting to see if there's going to be movement on that issue in the Senate. The Senate has been pretty strong against efforts in the past to oppose sports betting, which we know would be probably the largest expansion of predatory gambling in the history of our state, that would turn every iPhone and other internet-connected device into a mini casino, which we know will end up in the hands of our children. So very important that this bill does not move forward. So we're also encouraging folks to be reaching out to their senators to ensure that this large expansion of predatory gambling that is in House Bill 551, that the Senate stands strong against efforts to move that bill forward. A couple other important bills. There's a lot going on in these last few days, so just encourage folks to be in prayer, to be engaged with us at KentuckyFamily.org. This is just a really important time to be reaching out to your legislators on a number of important issues. Just a couple others that I want to mention. House Bill 547, that's an important religious freedom bill that would provide protections for our teachers and school officials in alignment with the important Supreme Court victory we had for Coach Kennedy last year. If folks remember that case, that bill, House Bill 547, has already passed the Kentucky House, and it was heard in Senate committee today. Our senior policy advisor, Michael Johnson, actually testified in favor of that bill this morning in the Senate committee, and it passed overwhelmingly out of the committee. And so I think there's a strong opportunity that the Senate will consider that bill. And if it was to pass the Senate, that bill would be on its way to the governor. Another issue that folks know that we have concerned about is the issue of medical marijuana. That's an issue we continue to have concerns about, and as we've seen in other states, when you open the door to so-called medical marijuana, you're inevitably opening the door to a strong push for full recreational marijuana, which would just be tremendously harmful for our state. But unfortunately, the medical marijuana bill, which is Senate Bill 47, that bill actually passed out of a Senate committee today. I mentioned Michael Johnson. We're involved in a lot of work today at the Capitol. Michael actually testified against that bill in committee, did a great job. But unfortunately, that bill has passed out of committee, and we'll have to see what the Senate does. That bill hasn't moved at all. It would have to pass the Senate and then go over to the House to pass if it was to get across the finish line. But just a lot of important issues. Still waiting to see what's going to happen to Senate Bill 115. That's the bill that we have been supporting that has already passed the Senate to protect against adult performances, including drag shows and other type shows that are just completely inappropriate for our children. So there's just a lot of important issues that are still in play. Encourage folks again to just engage with us at KentuckyFamily.org, share our Facebook posts, share our action alerts, call in to the Capitol number to leave a message for your legislators. Look, I just continue to be so thankful for the opportunity we have here at the Family Foundation to play our part, to stand for Kentucky families and the biblical values that make them strong. And we can't, we can do our part, and we just try to stand and be your voice for the values that so many Kentuckians care about. But what legislators really need to hear in these last few days before the veto override is to hear from you. So would encourage you to engage. And again, thank you for standing alongside us, and we will be sure to keep folks updated as we move forward with a few days left in this legislative session.